I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 106. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Friday, June 30th. And happy birthday to my mom, Denise Tardello, turning 39 years young today. The truest sicko out there. Number one supporter since day one. I love you, Mom. Happy birthday to you. Lots for you guys about the Bobcats coming up. Another commitment for 2024. The class has doubled from 1 to 2. We talked about Brad Jackson on the last one. We're going to talk about Kylen Evans on this one, wide receiver from Frisco Emerson. Before we get to that, though, this episode is sponsored by Austin Patchmaster. Austin.patchmaster.com. Any drywall repair you need, ceiling cracks, wall cracks, popcorn ceiling removal, maybe you punched a hole in your wall after a Texas State loss, call my guys at Austin Patchmaster, 512-200-3888. It's 512-200-3888. My guy Michael Clements over there, he's a Tech State grad, a true Tech State sicko. Really appreciate him supporting us through the summer. Even if you're in the Houston, Dallas area, you could still call them. They're a franchise, so they can give you a good referral in those areas. But if you're in the Austin metro area, need some drywall repair, hit up my guys at Austin Patchmaster. That's austin.patchmaster.com, 512-200-3888. And another little shout out, TGC, the Galindo Collective, business consulting, big supporters of us. They are getting us going all through the season. I'll be talking about them a lot more starting in July. I'm giving them some little free plugs for now, but we'll start really getting it going with them on July 1st. But check them out if you need any business consulting. That's thegalindocollective.com, Galindo, Galindo. It's my guy, Rick Galindo over there, also a Tech State grad and a true sicko. Appreciate you, Rick. Let's talk some Bobcats. I mentioned the commitment. I'm also going to talk a little bit about some jerseys. We talked those combos the last episode, some of those uniform combos, which one's the favorite, which one's the go-to. I'm not going to dive too deep into it, although I dove a little too deep in my research. I did a lot of prep just going through some of those games and looking for some of those jerseys. I'll specifically focus on the black jerseys. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. But let's start with the commitment. Let's start with Kylen Evans. Full disclosure, I'm recording this on Thursday. He's not announcing until Friday. So if you're wondering why didn't this pod come out at the 5 a.m. drop like it usually does, we're waiting for him to get his announcement out there. I found out who it was, and I've said this before on the pod. I've pivoted to, I'm not trying to spoil these kids' moments. Their big announcement. A lot of them do a lot of prep before they make this announcement. That's why they take a few days. So let's give them a few days, but I'm going to talk about him today. Kylen Evans, I mentioned, Frisco Emerson wide receiver, class of 2024. He's listed at 6'2", 180 pounds. Love his film. He's got great film. That body type size, if I were to compare him to a Tech State player, maybe like Marcel Barbie, when I look at him at that 6'2" height, can really fight for those 50-50 balls, but he still peels the top off the defense, can get open wide, get some separation. Really good at yard after catch, gets a lot of yak. This is all based on his junior film. He still has a senior year to come up and show off some more of that film. I think this is a nice pairing with the first commitment in Brad Jackson. You get a quarterback, you get a receiver. It sets the tone for this class coming up. If you missed the last episode 105 talking to Brad Jackson, he spoke about that, how it was important to him to commit this early before his senior season so that he could help out recruiting and almost be an ambassador for this recruiting class. And a few days later, they get the second one. So it's two guys who are in the boat before their senior season. You've seen some other comparable programs that are already getting close to double digits for 2024. I was, specifically Arkansas State, I was just looking at, they're at like 6. Got some good commits up there. But to even have a couple that's already more than last year's recruiting class. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I think they only signed 2. and they didn't have 2 commitments before the season that lasted. So this is already, we saw it with the whole transfer portal strategy that they first came out with. We've talked a lot on here about the 50 recruits that they've signed, most of them transfers. And if you're looking at that, it is a little worrisome when you're thinking about, oh man, is this kind of the same situation that we've been seeing where they're bringing in a bunch of transfers where it's just going to be another transfer portal class and another transfer portal class and another one, because we saw about 3 of those in a row with Jake Spavital. This is indicative to me that they wanted to go out and make a splash for this fall, go get some guys who are ready to play, go get some transfers that they can plug in as soon as they come in. And now for the next class, they can be more patient. They can be more thoughtful and wade through some of these recruits and look at some of these younger guys that they can bring in and try to develop over the next few years. They can kind of slow play it a little more, if you will. It seemed like they fast tracked the 2023 class, almost getting 2 recruiting classes in one with 50 players. And now they don't have to do that. Now they can kind of, I don't want to say look for substance over volume, because I'm not trying to say the volume of the 50 guys that they got are also substantial. They got some good substance out of those guys that they've signed. So there is a lot of great players that are coming in this 50-man class. Now they can't all play 4 years. Some of them are here for just a year. We were just talking to Bo Corrales, wide receiver, SMU transfer. He's only here for a year. So I think that's the concern that I'm talking about when talking about the heavy transfer portal classes. Now, but wading into these high school prospects is very important. It's important for everybody around the program. I think a lot of people saw what happened with these transfer portal classes over the last few years, where the high school program soured on Texas State, soured on Jake Spavital a little bit. It doesn't seem that's the same situation with GJ Kinney. Even when he was going super heavy transfers for a 2023 class, he was still hosting a ton of guys at junior day. They were visiting high schools. They were very accommodating to the Texas high school community. And that's important to them with the whole hashtag Take Back Texas, that whole deal that they're about. That's important to them. And it's not just a hashtag that they're just saying. I mean, that's something that they are definitely focused on. When you look at, I mean, both of their commits already for 2024, 2 Texas boys. I've mentioned before that, they're not even just looking at Texas guys. I talked about the quarterback from Hawaii even on that last episode, but that does seem important to them to curate those relationships with these high school programs so that it benefits your recruiting class down the road. And now they have two for 2024, quarterback and a receiver. A little more on our guy, Kylen Evans. Mentioned 6'2", 180 pounds. He has other offers from Texas Tech, Harvard, Columbia, Memphis, Toledo, Sam Houston State, Arkansas State, Air Force, and Tulsa. It's a good list of offers for a guy. He's not even into his senior season yet, especially the Texas Tech one. Tech was actually his first offer back in December, and Memphis was the most recent one before Harvard. So Texas Tech, they've been on him for a while. These are some good programs looking at this guy. Another guy who has the Ivy League offers as well. I remember that with Brad Jackson. He had a list of those, and we talked about it last episode that, these Ivy Leagues, they don't offer scholarships. So a lot of times these guys, they look at it and decide, I want to go play D1. I want to go play FBS. And Brad said that on the last episode. I'm sure I'll be able to get Kylen Evans on this pod at some point. We'll ask him about all that as well. And they're looking, when we talked about 2 episodes ago on 104, talked about this 2024 class, 202 offers out there. One of the biggest positions they had been offering was receiver. I believe it was 36 receivers were offered for the 2024 class. So that's obviously on their list of needs, and they go out and they get one. They get a really good one. Go watch his film if you haven't. I've probably yet to tweet about him much because I'm trying to time this for right when he commits. Boom, we're going to release it, and we'll already have some good stuff talking about him. But go check out his huddle. It's a fun huddle. I'm confident in that Marcel Barbie comp too. When I look at him, same body type, same style of receiver. Looks like he's a out wide guy. And I remember seeing him too at junior day. So he was offered, I think it was March. I believe he was offered March. I should have wrote that down. Offered by the Bobcats in March. He came to junior day. He actually visited Texas State during the day and UTSA that night. I don't know if he has a UTSA offer. Didn't report one, but someone they were kicking the tires on. And nice to see the Bobcats snap him away from the Roadbirds. Shout out to Atomic Punk. I'm going to keep using it. But yeah, and he visited Mizzou. He had some good suitors out there, and for him to choose the Bobcats this early and everything, I think it's pretty indicative of these guys' recruiting pitch and their dedication to recruiting and maintaining the bloodline of this program, because that's really what it is. I mean, that's why I love recruiting. You can tell what direction a program is going in based on their recruiting. And I'm mentioning Arkansas State. I'm doing it again. I'm going to mention them a lot this pod. Don't know why. Why are the Red Wolves on my mind? But I see they've had some down years, but I'm looking at their recruiting class, the class they signed for 2023, the ones that they're gathering for 2024, looking pretty good. Watch out for those Red Wolves. So Kylen Evans, Frisco Emerson, commit number 2 for the Bobcats. All right. This is going to be a shorter episode. I guess I didn't really preface with any of this. I don't have a guest for this one. Decided, let's do a solo one. Been a minute since I've done a solo one. And the episode on Tuesday was really long. It's like an hour and a half with the mailbag and then the Brad Jackson interview. It was good stuff. I really liked that episode. Enjoyed recording it. Always enjoy reading the questions from y'all. In fact, some of my segments today are based on those questions, still relitigating some of those answers. But yeah, it was a long episode, so this will be somewhat of a shorter episode. But let's talk about some jerseys. We talked about that jersey category, or the jersey combos, uniform combos. Our guy Creme Brulee on Twitter, he reached out and he asked about which one was my favorite go-to combo. I have the list here. Number A is the all maroon helmet, maroon jersey, maroon pants. He had B, which was maroon helmet, maroon jersey, gold pants. C was the gold helmet, maroon jersey, gold pants, which I decided was my favorite. Seems a lot of you agreed with that. D is the all black, and E is the all whites. So I mentioned something that was, I wouldn't say it's polarizing. It seems most people agree that they just don't love the black jerseys anyway. Some people absolutely love them, though. So there's that crowd out there that they are all about the all blacks. But I said they were cursed. And some people, took exception to that. They were, what about that 2015 game against ULM where they won? They reminded me of that one. So I decided I'm going to dive in and look for these black jerseys, see how well they've done. I'm only doing it since 2015. I could have gone further back, but I already spent a lot of time. It takes a lot of time looking for the jersey colors of specific games. But I guess if I'm going before 2015, we'll go all the way back to 2006. I believe, if you know better than me, reach out and correct me, please. I believe the first variation of the black uniform for Texas State was in 2006, and they lost. I can remember when I first got on to the University Star in 2008, and it was in Brad Wright's office. There was actually one of those black jerseys out, like on his desk or something. And not a good looking one at all from that 2006. I know Webb might throw up some pictures for y'all on the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. I didn't send him a picture of the 2006 one. It's not a very good one. I feel like once they went FBS, that's when the jersey started to actually look better. But that was the first one. So it was kind of after that one for a majority of my time covering Texas State. Most people agreed the black jerseys, never going to see them again. They're out of here. I don't recall if they did it between 2006 and 2015. They may have. I didn't research as deep, but I started at that 2015 one that Ray McCumber, shout out to Ray, sent in a question on the last pod that he sent me from 2015, that win over ULM. And Webb does have that pick. We'll see if he can get it up there for us. And that jersey, they did win. So they busted out the All Blacks and they won. And I guess they got confident enough in it because then in 2016 they busted out again. I got a nice picture of Connor White. I sent to Webb. We'll see if he can get that one up there. They lost to Arkansas State in that game. And this is all black. This is black helmet, black jersey, black pants. Because we'll get into the difference here in a sec. But then they decided to try them again in 2017. This is against Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Picture of Elijah King there. They lost. He lost that game. It was another loss. That right there, that's back-to-back losses in the All Blacks. And then 2018 decided to bring it back again. This is a game against Georgia Southern. Nice picture of the Bobcats celebrating in the end zone as a team after a touchdown. That might be Tyler Sadinsky. I should have looked that one up. But they lost that game. That was actually a close game, but that right there is 3 consecutive losses in the All Blacks after getting that win in 2015. So that's 1-3. After 2018, they haven't busted out the All Blacks again, to the best of my knowledge. Now, if you have a photo of a game where they did and I just missed it while doing my research, then send it in, show it to us, let us know all about that. But to the best of my knowledge, they have not done an all black since then. Now, they have done a gold helmet, black jersey, black pants. From what I can see, they have done that twice, and they have done it since that 2018 season. I didn't find one in 2019. They actually wore the all whites twice in 2019, and they lost both times. So maybe there's a reason to get rid of the all whites, the icy whites. But it was the very first game of Jake Spavital against A&M. Was it like 41-7? Brian London interception game. Anybody remember that interception? Look, he looked like Odell Beckham picking off that pass. And then they lost again to ULM later in the season, like December. They brought back the all whites. So, but I'm sorry. Let's go back. Gold, black jersey. 2020 is the first time they pulled it out. Not in 2019, but they lost to Louisiana. It's a great look. I really like the look. I know a lot of you say black is not in Texas State colors. It's not a traditional Texas State look, so that's why none of you want to see it ever, which I totally understand. I love the gold, black, and how it looks. It's not my favorite, but I do love it. They lost in it in 2020, then they won wearing it last year against App State. Great win. Might be the best win we've seen from these Bobcats since FBS, at least the most satisfying win. That's how I should phrase that. There's been some good wins. They beat Houston in 2012. There was that crazy triple overtime win over Ohio. They've had a lot of games where it was like close losses. Of course, the UTSA one from 2020. Even that same season, that Boston College game. They've had a lot of really close ones. But that App State win is always near and dear to my heart. Lots of great picks from that one. We've seen the Jerron Morris picture of it. We've seen you got Ashton Hawkins. Looks like he's Barry in the corner after scoring a touchdown on him. Great shots from that game. But if you look at the one from 2020 in the Louisiana game, it's different. It's different than that one we saw last year where it kind of has those designs on the shoulders. It's not terrible. It's not my favorite. I prefer the clean all black jersey, black pants look from last season with that gold helmet. I think that's a really slick look. My first one will still always be C, the gold helmet, maroon jersey, gold pants. I love that look. It's an awesome look. But I got to be honest, the gold, black is right up there with me, for me at least. I can confidently say that all blacks are cursed. It seems from my notes, and I could do deeper ones, they're 1-4 when wearing all black, not a gold helmet, a black helmet. So I think they need to get rid of those, maybe even the icy whites, but I do love the icy whites. They look so clean. They look so good. I got some honorable mention jerseys though. I sent these pictures to Webb, so we'll throw these up there because we talked about all those combos, but we didn't bring up these some cool looks from last year specifically. There was the paw print helmet where it's that old. It's kind of a throwback SWT look, but it's not. It doesn't say SWT on the helmet. It's that actual paw print. I like that look. We don't see it a ton from the Bobcats anymore, but they busted it out, and I really like it. This one was an Icy Whites one that they won, and it has the Bobcats in cursive script on the helmet, and I love that. I think that one looks great as well. That's a cool look. And then, of course, the Southwest Texas throwback look that they've been busting out recently. Another cool one. I really like those three. Those are not go-tos by any means, but they're just ones that while I was researching some uniforms, I was like, these are worth mentioning because they look good. Haven't talked about them a whole lot. But yeah, this is a fun one to litigate, and I actually have a lot more notes and stuff. I didn't want to. It's a lot of pictures I sent to the wizard to post up here to give you a good visualization. I threw it at him last minute too, so we'll do something where it's more produced. I bust out these pictures, and we fully litigate Texas State uniform combos. Because I'll tell you what, I made a list of ugly ones as well. I didn't want to bombard our guy Webb with all of those picks for this one, and who knows, maybe it's good content for later. I wrote them down. Yeah, I don't like right off the bat. I have a white, maroon, white that I hate. I hate that one. White helmet, maroon jersey, white pants. Looks like they lost to Troy wearing those in 2019, and they lost 63-27. So maybe we'll bury that look. We've got a few more ugly ones. Some of you know the mustard colored one. That one's not great either. So we'll talk about those as well. There's ones that should maybe be buried with the All Blacks. But save the black jersey and pants and just keep the gold helmet. And now now I'm thinking about it. I even remember the argument last year after that win. It's like they beat App State, but they look too much like App State. I can remember one person saying that. And yeah, those colors are super close to App State. But I still like it. Looks good. Pepper in some maroon somewhere in it, and we'll fully love it. Yes. So now I want to talk about Arkansas State. So the last episode, I mentioned Arkansas State. I was asked about a rivalry, a good candidate for a rivalry for the Bobcats, and I chose Arkansas State. It's one that I've felt strongly about for the last few years. And it was timely. It's almost as if we manifested this response. A great reporter, a great personality for Arkansas State. It's our guy Hellraiser, A State Fan Rule. Some of you may see him. He's got some funny posts, some obscure posts. He also is on the Fun Belt podcast. I've been on there. It's a good podcast. Get some Sun Belt info. But last night even, he tweeted, the NCAA should charge Texas State $5 million retroactively for joining the FBS. Just for, obviously, that's him saying the Bobcats have performed so poorly that they should have to pay to be up there. Unsolicited pop shot from our guy Hellraiser. That's okay, because the heroes at maroonandgolden.com, at Golden Texas State on Twitter, they had a nice response. They responded, we wouldn't be opposed to throwing some money at Arkansas State's way occasionally. Those matchups are usually the equivalent of money games for us anyway. Then he has statistics to back that up. 10-1 overall in 2022-2023 in the major sports. 10-1 Texas State over Arkansas State last season. Soccer 1-0, football 1-0, volleyball 2-0, men's basketball 2-0, women's basketball 2-0, baseball 2-1. Man, baseball, if you got that win, it would have been 11-0. I appreciated that because, there was a time where Arkansas State was sitting on top of the Sun Belt in a lot of sports, and they were feeling like the big dogs of the conference. And they've had to come back to reality a little bit. It happens to every program. They still got a little bit of that hubris, though, as Hellraiser showed. And I appreciate Maroon and Golden humbling them a little bit. I've even got a little bit to add to that as well, to that 10-1 mark from 2022-2023. Let's talk about the last 3 seasons of football. Texas State has beaten Arkansas State 3 times in a row. I'm pretty sure that's the only team in the conference they can boast that statistic on. 2020, 47-45. If you remember, that was a great game. Brady McBride had a terrific game. That's when I after that 2020 season, that final game against Arkansas State, I really thought Brady McBride was the truth. After that game, an exceptional game. Not a lot of exceptional defense, almost 100 points combined score, but that was still a really fun one. One of the more fun games I've covered. That was 2020. In 2021, Texas State won again, 24-22. In 2022, Bobcats win 16-13. It's 3 wins by a combined 7 points. So it's no barn burners. Didn't absolutely whoop them, but I will say that's 3-0 the last 3 years. I don't know. What are you bragging about, Red Wolves? What are you talking about, Hellraiser? Get out of here with that. But I'm for it. I'm for it because I want the rivalry between the Bobcats and the Red Wolves to truly bubble up and fester and turn into something real. Get that bad blood going, you know? I like that. I think it's so I appreciate Hellraiser for throwing that out there, and I appreciate Maroon and Golden for jumping in. Shout out to maroonandgolden.com. Great message board. I don't get on there and read it as much as I probably should, but that's great stuff. When I started out, I started cutting my teeth with Bobcat Report and Bobcat Illustrated, Rivals and Scout sites. And those message boards were the bread and butter. That's where all the real stuff was going. It's where I feel like I learned a lot about recruiting, and I learned a lot about Texas State in general from the message boards. When you get on there and you hear from some of these older Bobcats that know what the deal really is and what Texas State's history has really been like, and what's not being reported or fully shown on Twitter. So shout out to Maroon and Golden. I'm glad that site is still kicking butt. I have a note here. Don't forget Alex Castilla, Incarnate Word. Yeah, 2 episodes. I've forgot to mention this. Alex Castilla, Texas State offensive lineman, San Marcos High School graduate. He is off to Incarnate Word. It's a 3rd player to Incarnate Word from Texas State. Silas Robinson at center, Sammy Obiang on the defensive line. Now Alex Castilla on the offensive line. Many of you still remember 5 offensive linemen from Incarnate Word transferred here. 4 other players, Sean Holton, Cole Wilson, Sam Latham. Who's the other one I'm forgetting? I'm forgetting one more. I know it, but yeah, so 9 of them transferred in, 5 offensive linemen. So they're kind of trading offensive linemen at this point, even defensive linemen. Sam Latham's a defensive end, big guy that transferred here from Incarnate Word. So they have 2 offensive linemen from Texas State at Incarnate Word. Bobcats have 5 here from the Cardinals. Interesting deal how they're switching players back and forth. I think Incarnate Word's still going to be pretty good. You know, after they lost some really good players, Lindsey Scott, of course, the terrific quarterback they had, like Darian Chafin was a really good receiver. They had a few other receivers that were seniors. Then they lost Cole Wilson, who was probably their best freshman receiver. He came to the Bobcats. Cole Wilson, I saw more of those Brett Huth posts that really hard to decipher. The ones I can decipher that I can look and go, okay, I understand this category is vertical because I can see the inches. I'm like, oh, that's pretty high. That guy jumped really high. On top of that board is Cole Wilson, Mr. Incarnate Word transfer. He's a little slot receiver. I don't mean to say little. He's shorter at the slot receiver position. I mean, he's got a 40-inch vertical though, so he can get up as high as any of those tall guys. So good for him. I saw our guy Bo Corrales on that list as well at 6'4", with like a 37.5-inch vertical. So pretty excited. The injuries he overcame, you've heard it on episode 104. If you haven't, it's a good one to go listen to. On episode 104, he talked about the hernia injury that took a few surgeries to correct, and then he separated his shoulder in fall camp last year. No injury is great, and the recovery time is hard, but those are injuries that I'm confident in the bounce back ability after those. Knee injuries are concerning, back, neck, things like that. Shoulder, if he was a quarterback, but he's a receiver, so I'm sure it doesn't feel great when he lifts those arm ups to catch a pass, but those are still injuries I feel like he can recover from. How did I get to Bo Corrales? I don't know, because I was talking about Alex Castilla transferring to Incarnate Word. So yeah, that's another one there. It was interesting because it seemed like he was just going to hang it up and not play football anymore. This is kind of a late announcement for the transfer. I don't know if he just had to figure some things out, if he was going to go to grad school or what have you. Because a little bit more on Alex Castilla. He was initially recruited by Everett Withers out of San Marcos High School. Big offensive lineman. Had some really good offers. Just didn't have the grades, so he didn't qualify. So he had to go to Tyler Junior College. Goes to Tyler Junior College for a couple years. Gets the same situation for him. Once he qualifies, gets a bunch of good offers, chooses Texas State. It's a part-time starter in and out of the rotation. Definitely a serviceable player. He got here later than I'm sure he wanted to, but being a local guy from San Marcos, it was cool that he was able to come back and play for Texas State. And then when the new coaching staff came in, he put out a post where it was seemingly that he was done with football. He's back. He's back in Incarnate Word. Good for him. I think he's got a lot of talent, and maybe in the Southland Conference, he'll be able to get a lot more starting time. Same for Silas Robinson, and same for Sammy Obiang. I think those are players that could have played here, but they'll get a lot more playing time at Incarnate Word, and they've gone out and recruited a lot of defensive linemen and offensive linemen. So it's not huge losses for the Bobcats, but rooting for those guys. I'm oddly rooting for Incarnate Word. I don't know what that is. That's a program that beat the Bobcats 2 years ago, and it was probably the most embarrassing loss, in my opinion, that this program has ever had, losing to an FCS program like that. And I don't feel the same animosity I do towards like the Roadbirds. There's a lot of animosity from me to UTSA, but from me to Incarnate Word, I don't know what that is. I kind of root for them. Going down there, that playoff game when GJ was still coaching, but he had signed here. They'd played against Furman. I got to meet their AD and stuff. Richard Duran, great guy. So maybe that plays into it a little bit. And I like to think that with 6 coaches also coming up from Incarnate Word, that's indicative of them leaving a place better than they found it if that program is still successful this year. I brought it up before. I mean, who knows how long these guys are here, if they have some success and they want to move on and find something bigger somewhere else. I mean, you look at GJ's trajectory of his career path, he's done that before. It seems like every time I bring that up, though, I get a little pushback. It seems like, no, this is different. This is a different stop. And I hope so. Believe it. I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm optimistic. How about that? Some clarity on the renovation questions. I am going to get some answers on that when they are going to start doing some of those projects and how far away they are with donations and how much money they need. So I know I wanted to give a more full answer today. I feel like I'll have a better one for you on the next episode because there's a lot of questions about that. I'm glad a lot of you are concerned with that and want to make sure that all that's in the right direction. And then the last thing, basketball signed 8 players. They announced that this week. We know some of them. Ryan Bolton was on this pod not too long ago. Talked a lot about Caden Gums, another San Marcos High School product. I was really surprised when I saw 8. I think I had 4 or 5 on my list of guys. Bolton, Gums, a few other guys. And I was surprised to see 8. This is basically going to be a new Texas State men's basketball team next year. And I just was I got too deep on the uniform combo research. So I was going to jump into basketball as well, but I'll save that. Save some basketball, dive deep into some of the new players, who's coming back, stuff like that. For football, that's another thing I want to talk about on the next episode. Is I've talked a lot about the new guys, all these new guys coming in, 50 players they've signed. Here's the 2024 class of guys they've committed. But there's still some really good players on this team that were here last season and seasons before that I don't feel like I've highlighted enough, like Ashton Hawkins at receiver, Jordan Revels on the defensive line. Talked a lot about Ben Bell on the defensive line. There's Torrey Spears at safety. There's a lot of good players that I want to touch on more. I kind of want to talk about them and preview them and see where they fit in with this new staff and in GJ Kinney's offense and defense, the system in general, where these guys fit in their plans. Because it's not all just new guys, you know. I feel like I get too lost in the fog talking about all the new guys, but there's a lot of good guys coming back. Jamal Jeter, I brought him up. We didn't see him run the ball. I mean, shoot, the whole running back room. Jamal Jeter, Lincoln Perry, Calvin Hill. I think Calvin Hill's still here. I gotta, you know, I didn't see him a lot in the spring. I need some clarity on that one. Pretty sure Calvin Hill's still here, but yeah, so we'll wait. We'll talk a little bit about that, some pros and cons on if you should believe in Texas State. I hinted at that one on the last episode as well. And I'll get a good guest for you, no doubt. I won't always make it these solo pods. I enjoy a good solo pod. Sometimes it's nice just to turn on the mic, turn on the camera, and give some of my thoughts here. But that'll just about do it. One more shout out to austin.patchmaster.com. Any drywall repair you need in this Austin metro area, hit our guys up, 512-200-3888. It's 512-200-3888. Shout out to Michael Clements. Really appreciate you supporting this pod. Hit them up if you need any drywall repair, sickos. And thanks to Zachary Webb, my producer. I don't ever thank him enough. I need to thank him every episode. Y'all call me out if I don't thank him at the end of the episode, because this one I threw a little bit of a wrench at him with these pictures on these uniform combos. As I was doing my prep, I was like, you know, there some visual aids would go a long way here with helping, but that adds more time on his end. So big thank you to Zach Webb. He's done a lot for this pod. He's legitimized the vision that I had, and now it's a shared vision. Very much appreciative of him. I didn't plug the merch site, WNOGB.com, winnowergetbent.com. As usual, got the shirt right there. There you go, sickos. Appreciate all of you supporting and buying some of the merch. The mugs are the big one. Really appreciate all the mug purchases. That one surprises me because I love a mug. I love coffee. I love a good mug. But when we put it up there and we saw the shipping and handling costs like $9 or something like that, I was like, oh man, no one's gonna buy that. It's the most bought thing on there. It's impressive. And you know, that shipping cost is there so that the mug doesn't break on its way. That's why that costs so much. But we're evaluating our vendor options, and maybe we can reduce those costs a little bit, because we're not trying to nickel and dime all you sickos out there. But even those shipping costs, we don't make anything on it. That's just how it has to go depending on the vendor. But appreciate everyone getting in there and getting that merch. More merch coming. That was great too. We talked a lot about merch in the mailbag in the last episode, and a lot of good feedback. I asked for feedback. Keep it coming. You can hit me up in my DMs on Twitter, or you can email at wnogbkeff@gmail.com. That's wnogbkeff@gmail.com. Give us any of your suggestions, feedback, what kind of gear you're looking for, stuff like that. Number one thing I hear is more color. I heard that before that last episode, and I heard it again after this one. The Sicko shirt specifically, more colors on that. We're going to give you lots of those good options, more colors, so it's not just Raiders colors, as my guy Adrian Garza said in my DMs this week. He said, he knows I'm a Raiders fan, knows I'm a Spurs fan, so that silver and black is around. I promise that wasn't why those are like that. They're just kind of the generic standard colors. But no, we'll get some more color out there, get some more Texas State colors, more Bobcat colors. Maybe not officially licensed colors, but more colors in general, for sure. All right, that'll do it for this one. Thanks again to Zachary Webb. Much appreciative of the wizard. Much appreciative of all you sickos. This is nothing without y'all. Thank you for tuning in, supporting. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. You know, I hope you're out there making fake accounts for me. Make a fake account and just push play on the YouTube video. Let it run all day. That's what you got to do. No, you ain't got to do that. You got to live your life. That's what you do. But thank you for tuning in, supporting. Win now or get bent.